Is there any advice that you have for athletes who are going through the rehab process, or maybe just found out they had an ACL tear, or maybe 2 months post-op ACL? Like, what type of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I would say, like Wesley said, this is something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And so for me, I think this process changed my life completely. And
a big thing that we do here that's, I think, very unique is the fact that we have strength coaches that work directly with us. In this situation, she worked with Matt Boyd, who is one of the co-owners here. And Matt and I have worked with so many girls in the past, especially ACLs, and we've developed a very synchronous relationship that really benefits the athletes. So essentially, whenever I feel like it's safe, usually, I hate timelines, but roughly around 7-8 months or so, they start decreasing one session with me, or they add one and start transitioning to Matt. Because Matt is really good with the movement, explosive, footwork, speed, agility, quickness, whatever you name it. That's the world that he lives in, that's what he excels in, and that's what he's really, really good at. And me as the PT understanding that's not under my scope of practice. My job is to make sure she is safe, right? My job is to make sure I'm testing her, building up her strength, building up her neuromuscular control. That's all within the physical therapy spectrum. But my job is not get her faster and quicker, right? Did I play a role in that in the early stages? Of course, because she was literally learning how to run again. But at a certain point, I have to understand this is my cap, my limitation. Go see Matt, and Matt's gonna take your rehab to 15 levels upward. And that's essentially what started happening. So Claire, can you talk about at least that part of it when we started to integrate Matt and you started seeing both of us, like, what was that process like? Because I would say not a lot of people get that level of care.
yeah, I think that's when I really felt like I was going to start return to sport and play. I felt like I was training like an athlete again. Like you said, you can only do so much in this area of it. So being able to just come here, walk literally 5 steps and go do, the training to get me to that next level was huge for me. Especially when you're starting to do this again and you have so many questions about, okay, well, my knee feels like this. Is this normal? Is this normal? And knowing that Wesley was right next door, so helpful. And I think also it allowed for an open communication between all of us. So, when I did start to add more, we could talk about what my load looked like that week and is this okay? And, if I increased my numbers in a sprint test, we could bring Wesley over and tell him. And it was just a really seamless process. And I just never felt concerned about, am I going to continue to progress after this point? I knew I was always progressing because it was just a very seamless process.
It's always a bittersweet moment for me because that's the first step to leaving me when you start transitioning to Matt, but it's also the best thing. And we know that you also got to train with Gemma, who was also one of my ACLs, so they both got to do that together. Gemma was much further out, but they developed a friendship because of that. Gemma understood what she was going through. So it's honestly a really cool environment to be in, just because I haven't seen anything like it really. I wish that all athletes had this access, because I think that this is what ACL rehab takes in order to help decrease these very, very high, unfortunately very high re-tear numbers. I think a lot of more traditional places like where I used to work, we just didn't have these resources, right? But finding local strength coaches that do have the ability to, perform that late stage ACL rehab can be a big gap that I think is missed in our profession. And Claire, backtracking a little bit, but is there anything that we talked about the ups and the downs. Were there things that you maybe looking back that you wish you did a little bit differently? I can think of a couple, but I'll let you go first.
I did it a little bit differently. That's hard. Because I do feel like it's hard to say that now because I feel like I'm happy with where I ended up. But I don't know. I personally am happy with where I ended up, so I don't know. But you tell me what you think I could have done differently.
There was a period of time where you wanted to, I think we were starting to introduce your soccer trainer. And that was a big time period because you were coming in to see me twice a week still. Mm-hmm. You were coming in to see Matt, and you started doing your soccer trainer. And that was when you started to have some of the downs that we talked about, because your knees started to ache a little bit. And this is the load management portion that I've probably lectured to you on 7,000 times at this point. That was one of the moments that I can think of that we maybe could have did a little bit better, because that maybe would have avoided a flare-up. But again, like you said, it's part of the process, and you got to the end result, which is the ultimate thing. And for me, I'm big on not having pain throughout the rehab process. Can I guarantee that you won't have pain? Absolutely not. Are there inevitably going to be some pains? Of course, because you're increasing more stress, more load to the patient's knee, right? And that's the whole process of having an open dialogue with Claire, and she understood that. And we never pushed it to anything that was too extreme, but there are days that were like, my preference would have been for her to take a break. But at the same time, she was like, 9, 10 months post-op at that point. She felt okay to push a little bit, which is perfectly within her right to do so, because she was also testing already really well. She was in the mid to upper 80s at that point. So it wasn't like we were putting her in danger or anything like that. But that's the only one thing that I can think of was like, maybe we could have did that a little bit better. But that's okay. It's a part of the process.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And then last couple wrap-up questions. Is there any advice that you have for athletes who are going through the rehab process, or maybe just found out they had an ACL tear, or maybe 2 months post-op ACL? Like, what type of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I would say, like Leslie said, this is something you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And so for me, I think this process changed my life completely and changed it for the better. Not everyone was like the athlete that I was prior to this injury. I was not happy with the athlete I was prior to going through this process. But either way, I think you can take this as an opportunity to learn about yourself. And I know it's way easier said than done, but keep an open mind, and just enjoy this process. Once again, I think it was made a lot easier for me because of who I got to work with, and because of the environment I was in. It was just like, I just had fun every single time, most times when I was coming in here. But I created relationships that are going to last me a lifetime with other clients here and with the trainers here. But I just got to start completely over and learn about myself and learn about what it takes for me to be an elite athlete. And for that, I'm going to be forever grateful. So I would say, use this as an opportunity and learn about yourself also outside of your sport and outside of your injury. Wesley knew I went through many hobbies and jobs and odds and ends. So just take this as an opportunity to learn and grow and all that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that even myself, when I tore my ACL, like I never played to this level or anything like that, but basketball was a big part of my life. And in an instant, your sport, your community is taken away from you. And yes, you can be a part of the team and travel with them, whatever it may be, but like it's very different when you're the one sitting there on the sidelines, which I talk to a lot of athletes about. And I think it's really important to find stuff outside of sports, because yes, sports is a big part of life, but finding something outside where you can occupy your mind, because physical therapy is daunting. Again, Claire spent 2-3 days a week with me for a very long time, for essentially this past year. And it's a very long process and the grind. And there were periods of times where, and I remember, we talked about the downs that she had when she started running a lot and she started to have knee pain. She was going on a trip back to Portugal to visit her friends, and I was like, Claire, zero, like nothing. You're doing nothing during that trip. And for her, she was like, huh? Like that doesn't seem logical, right? But sometimes just sort of saving the athletes from themselves is super important. And it was in that moment, I felt like it was the right time. She was going on a trip anyway, and I was like, this is the perfect time for you to just take it easy. If you want to lift upper body, stuff like that, go on hikes, whatever it is, perfectly fine. But like, don't worry about lifting, don't worry about rehabbing, just take a mental break from that. And I think that's equally as important too, because of how long the process is. It's very hard to lock in on the same injury, the same thing for an entire 9 months plus to a year, however long it takes. So I think it is important, great advice to having some sort of hobbies outside of the rehab / your sport. And Claire, I guess final question is, can you share about next steps for you? I know you signed with the team, if you're willing to share the team, and also if you want people to follow you along your journey as well, like where they can find you. Oh, okay. Gonna do a little plug. So I just signed with DC Power, which is the new USL Super League team coming to Washington, DC. So come support us if you would feel like it. We play at Audi Stadium, and we're going to be playing over the next couple of months. You can find DC Power on Instagram. And then I am Claire.Constant on Instagram. You don't need to follow me, but if you wanted to, that would be cool too. But And we look forward to, like, I think at least a handful of us from Healthy Ball are already going to go support Claire on her first day, first game here, because I think the first 2 or 3 games are away.
Yeah.
So we look really forward. We look forward to that. And again, Claire, at least from as your PT, I am extremely grateful for the process of working with you. I know we said our goodbyes. Our last session was 4 days ago, and she cried as soon as she walked in the door. So I was like, Claire, it's our last session, and she started crying right away.
You're bawling.
But I've really enjoyed watching you overcome this. I think when we first started, I was like, this girl doesn't really talk that much. And I figured out Claire's a talker. And I've, again, really enjoyed that process, and I appreciate both you and your parents for trusting me and us in this process, because you guys could have chosen to go anywhere. And it's been fun, again, just watching you and even the relationships you form here, like Gemma, and we'll get into Gemma another time. But, I think it's really cool, because not just with the ACL rehab, but also like you as people, like you're also an amazing person. Like you guys love my kids and like love seeing videos of my kids. And, you know, we text about even random things outside of rehab, because we don't really talk about rehab that much anymore, thankfully. So again, I appreciate all the work that you put in, and even more so being vulnerable with this, because I think this will hopefully help some people who are out there, PTs and patients like. So again, I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you guys found video like this helpful. If you want me to do more stuff like this with my athletes, I can certainly arrange that. Just drop a comment below, and hopefully I can make that happen for you guys. So again, I appreciate you guys watching, and look forward to the next video.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching today's video. Please feel free to like and subscribe. I have started an ACL Mastermind Group, which is a program designed for physical therapists, physios, strength coaches, students, and athletic trainers who want to learn more about ACL rehab. It currently holds over 600 videos and has over 500 members, with new videos added every single month. The videos cover immediate post-op to late stage sports-specific movements and everything in between. Content specifically also includes rehab complications, treatment philosophies, case studies where you can see my real-life patients, movement assessments, exercise breakdowns, so you understand how to properly teach the exercises. The exercises are also arranged by difficulty level for strengthening exercises, plyometrics, balance, and neuromuscular control. Of course, it also covers late stage for movement exercises from structured all the way to randomized and chaotic to mimic more sports-related settings. And lastly, you also learn how to do return to sport testing, which is extremely important, and this what ultimately determines whether or not someone is safe or not safe to return to sports again. There's also questions within the group where you can learn how I engage with patients and the parents of how to answer difficult questions throughout the rehab process, which is inevitable to come up. And lastly, you gain access to a private forum where you can ask questions directly to me and others within the community. We share research articles, we share other equipment and beneficial equipment and things like that. Anything that can come up within the ACL rehab spectrum, that's where you can ask within the private forum. And lastly, you can also download the app where you can gain access in your respective facilities directly on your phones. If you have any interest, please feel free to click the link below, and I appreciate you watching today's video.